This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so good morning again, everybody. Thank you, Craig, for taking the time this morning to come talk to everybody about what the library's been doing and join us for this community conversations session. I know the library has been closed lately due to COVID-19, and you guys have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. I know having some free time on your, a lot of free time, but having some downtime on your hands, getting some other projects done that you couldn't have otherwise done. But with no further ado, I'm going to let Craig take over. Craig is the director of the library here in Gadsden. It's a fantastic job managing all the branches and doing everything they do over there. They're fantastic folks, and they're always a good community partner with the chamber especially. So thank you guys for that, Craig. But I'll let you go and take it away. Let me assign you as the presenter so you can do your slideshow. Hang on one sec. All right, there you go.
Very good, Will. I guess I feel underdressed right now. I got to get my book mask on, all right? There, now I feel better. But for this, I'll take it off, all right? All right, before we get started about the library and what we've been doing here, I thought maybe there's a few folks, and I think very few, that know who I am. My name's Scott Craig. No, it's Craig Scott. I just go by library guy since my name gets mixed up all the time. So I'm a Michigander. Emily, I know you are too, right? And I was born and raised in Michigan and Lansing. I went to Michigan State, got my bachelor's there in history, and then I went off to the other school down in Ann Arbor and got my master's in library science. After a couple years doing that, then I had a choice either to go to Library World or Publishing World. And McGraw-Hill came knocking at my door and I joined them. I was with them for 26 years in a variety of positions, a variety of locations, including Detroit, Chicago, Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, and ended up in Birmingham. That's how I made my way to Gadsden here. I retired out of McGraw-Hill thinking I was done after 26 years and mowed my neighbors' yards just to keep busy for about a year, and then got looking around because I was bored. And so it happened, the second position back then called Public Services Librarian was open. Amanda Jackson was the director here. I talked to Amanda and some of the other team members here and got hired in. So I was Public Services Librarian, or Adult Services Librarian as it was also called, and got us involved in not only the American Library Association, but the Public Library Association, our state library, which is called Alabama Public Library Service, or APLS. I've gotten very involved also with the state archives. I know the guys there very well in Montgomery. And then finally, ALLA, which stands for our Alabama Library Association. And one thing I'm really proud of, back in 2016, I made some overtures. I was on the executive board then, made some overtures with the board about bringing our convention, our annual state convention, here to Gadsden. And normally they only go to 4 locations, and you can guess the 4 in the state: Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, and the Beach. So I made back in 2015, with the help of Heather at the chamber, Hugh over at the tourism board, we made a pitch, and lo and behold, they unanimously voted to give the 2016 Alabama convention to Gadsden. Now, back then, we did not have the venue, and this was the hardest part, trying to sell our town. We did not have a convention hotel. So we used 210 at the tracks as our main site. Right across the parking lot was the University of Alabama with all their classrooms, so we could easily, a block away, move people over there for their breakout sessions. And then we used all the venues up and down Broad Street: the Pittman Theater, the Senior Center, now the Downtown Civic Center, the museum, the Art Museum, the Hardin Center, all the restaurants. It was well spread out. We prayed not that we wouldn't have any rain, but we also had the trolleys running to get people back and forth. And frankly, it flowed pretty well. 99% of our comments were they enjoyed Gadsden, they'd like to come back. And I have made overtures again to the association. Hopefully 2023, we might see the convention again. So we'll see how that goes. But back in 2016, this was really the first major convention. We had 400 that came first major convention that used our hotels. It was a three-day event. They used our hotels, they used our restaurants, and it was in the middle of the week. It wasn't a fishing tournament on the weekends. So that was a little bit different for our community, and hopefully that helped lead to City Council and others at City Hall recognizing we needed a better venue, and out of that, the venue was built in the old Kmart. All right, about 18 months ago, I was named library director here when Amanda Jackson went off to Virginia, and she's now library director at a bigger library up there. In the past, I've been involved with locally here, Habitat for Humanity, Council on Aging, Red Cross, RSVP, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and then I'm board chair right now of MANA, Meals on Wheels, great organization. And so with that, I talked to the staff here about 2020 being a year of transformation. We needed to move this library forward. On September 27th last year, I closed the library for a day. I got the staff together and I challenged them. I said, where are we going with this place? What does it mean to us? What does it mean to you? What's it mean to the community? And we had that discussion. Out of that, then it led us on to looking at our mission. And this is the mission of the library back from 2004. And I'll let you guys read through that. And you'll see it talks about the library providing all of our citizens with services. Well, I guess that means that we're not going to serve anyone who's not a citizen. And so I had the staff take a look at that. And we also looked at something called the primary self-directed learning resource. We looked at that and we said, what does that mean? And we didn't really understand that. It also, this mission statement, this old mission statement talks about, for instance, our reference collections. We have really, really good and reliable reference collections. Well, guess what? How do you look up anything these days? Me for one, I get out my phone. So this did not talk about anything online. It was old, it was outdated. And again, there's the word citizens in there too. So we wanted to change this around. The staff and I worked on this, took some months to do, and we came up with something that's simple and basic and something that we can all identify with. And that's our mission now. We're the Gadsden Public Library. We're the heart of the community. We enrich lives, we inspire ideas, and we create community. And we've been doing so since 1906. If we don't have a program or materials or actions, our policies and procedures that don't enrich, inspire, or create, then we don't do it. So that's where we were all headed in 2020. And some of the things that we wanted to get done around here, we wanted to rebrand ourselves. Our logo was old, the mission statement itself was old, but we wanted to let the community know that we were here. We also talked about some major things that we could do to help the community, and that would be number one, to move our genealogy department. We have great resources, family history and genealogy. That department was located on our 4th floor at the main library. And yes, indeed, the library has 4 floors. It also has a basement. So our 4th floor, however, is windowless. It wasn't very inviting. There's no restrooms up there. And me, as an old guy, I need a restroom, especially when I'm doing genealogy and I don't want to wait for the elevator. So we looked at what we had for available space here, and lo and behold, our Alabama City branch over on Wall Street at the corner of Megan and Wall Street, a historic building in a historic district, was the perfect setting. And so we, in January, that was our first big major move. We packed up and moved our entire 4th floor over to Alabama City. We did that in January. We opened that in February for just a few weeks, and then the virus came along. But moving that whole collection over there, and it looks great. I want to show it off, and I can't quite do it yet to all you guys. But that allowed us then to have a vacant 4th floor, which we then wanted to renovate for our teen department. Our teens we were averaging before the virus hit about 40 in the afternoon, packed into a small space. And when kids are packed into small spaces, they behave pretty well, and then they start to get out of hand. So we wanted to give them a much bigger space, which the 4th floor now allowed us to do. So that was in our little master plan of transformation this year. And then taking the space vacated by the teens on the 2nd floor with a move up to 4, that allowed us to then think ahead about creating a maker space. What's that? It's hands-on learning, where we could have cool things like a 3D printer. And you all heard about 3D printers when the virus first hit, and you know, the medical community needed masks. Well, I wish we could have produced some of those masks using a 3D printer. We might have had. A lot of libraries were doing that. We also talked about creating some mini libraries around different neighborhoods. And then finally, there's a fire station that's been vacant for a long time in Alabama City, right next to our library over there. If you go past our library on the corner on Wall Street over there, you'll see a fire station. It's vacant. And we had targeted that to become the public library. So we'd have the genealogy library next to the public library, which would help increase the activity of that corner, which I think would be widely and well received up and down Wall Street with some of the owners of the buildings there. And we might be able to then, you know, see some more activity, some good activity that is, in Alabama City. So we were on our way, and then the virus came along. By the way, here's some of the rebranding that we wanted to do. And we talked back and forth. We decided we'd go with this block logo. So GPL, Gadsden Public Library, since 1906. But then we came up with the idea that we would use this block logo so the community could identify with us, but then break it out by different departments. So the red is Alabama City. And also, remember, that fire station is next door. So that's kind of the reason we have red in Alabama City. The dark blue is our East Gadsden branch over by the public health department there. Our manager over there is LaShunda Williams. She calls herself she's the queen here of my staff, and so she likes to consider that royal blue. The children's department, Jill in our children's department, who does a great job, selected teal. She thought that was inviting for the kids. The 4th floor, the teen department, which was known as the teen zone, with the move up to 4, they wanted to change their name and rebrand themselves. They are now known as the Hive. So with that, yellow was a natural choice. And then we have a friends group, an active volunteer group, and they selected that color. So when you see us around town, you see our Facebook pages, our websites, you'll see this logo, and you'll know about what the different colors are. Alabama City, we moved, so we have our sign over there, and in fact, there's 2 on the outside. And so this is the Wall Street side sign, and you'll see that logo there, and then out in front, and it's also on the inside of that library. And I tell you, that branch is really, really shaped up well. It's bright, it's clean, it's all ready to go. It's 99.9% genealogy, family history resources that we have, some great stuff. All the Gadsden Times newspapers from 1867 forward are in that building, in case you get interested in doing your family history. This also made sense because there are 2 other genealogy libraries within a stone's throw of that location. The Nichols Library, historic building owned by the Northeast Alabama Genealogical Society, right behind Canterbury Station, the shopping center. There's a little library there that's genealogy. And then down the road is the Elliott Center, where the Etowah Historical Society is, and their Jerry Jones Library. So we have 3 genealogy libraries all within a very short distance, and we were going to start promoting it and will promote it as a genealogy hub. And while there's a beer trail, a wine trail, various trail, I think there's a barbecue trail, we want to create a genealogy trail with Alabama tourism, and we're working on that along with Hugh Stump here locally. March 17th came along, and on that day I closed the library. I got the call from City Hall that city facilities were being shut down, and on that day, that was a Monday, And as many facilities did, we shut down because of the virus. And we've been shut down. Also on that day, I was notified that I needed to let go half of my staff. I had 33, including myself, on staff, 17 full-time and 16 part-time, and all 16 part-timers were let go. So with that, with the 17 I had, we gathered together and we decided on projects that we needed to get done with the doors closed, projects that we could not normally do with the doors open and people coming in all the time. So I've got a couple of shots here of the library. That may not look, it looks like a library to you guys, but to me, I see all kinds of work that's been done. Every item in this building has been cleaned. It's been touched, cleaned. We've cataloged. We make sure that it's in our catalog. It hasn't been misplaced somewhere. You'll also notice some spaces at the end of each row. We went through and we weeded the collection. That means we took out books out of this collection. And we have recirculated those books either to other libraries, to recycling, or we have given those over to our friends group to sell in our bookstore. Libraries go through a weeding process all the time because we have books coming in all the time, new books that the community wants to read and see, especially lately with all the issues faced by our country, the equality, racism, poverty issues. We've got a lot of new books that have arrived and have those on display when we open the doors. But that picture right there is not a library. It's a very clean, well-organized library, and I'm very proud of the staff for doing that. And that's just one shelf. The whole building looks like that. There's another shot of that. Here's our front desk now. That's our front desk, but it doesn't look like our front desk. Now it looks like a bank. So yes, we've put up the screens, we've protected ourselves, and with the help of Public Works, I think they made it look really, really nice. So hopefully that's temporary. We can get that thing down shortly. I guess none of us know what the new norm will be. You're going to hear me talk in a few minutes. We're going to open the doors on June 29th, unless something goes awry again. June 29th will be our opening, and that's all 3 locations: East Gadsden, Maine, and Alabama City. But then we'll see, how long we have to keep masks on and shields up and all that. But there's our front desk. Also, in the front desk area, there's our logo. You're going to start to see this not only Facebook pages and all, but in the building and outside of the building too. We got this ready when folks come in the door. That's the famous bicycle that was purchased a few years ago. I've ridden this thing around the downtown area for First Fridays, for Turnip Tuesdays over at the market, and also I take this to places like Doggett Tower and Holy Comforter for the seniors that can't get out. So that's our library book. Almost looks like that's our library bike, but it almost looks like an ice cream bike when I'm riding around town. So I'll open that up. We've got it on display in front right now, and looks good. I'm going to take you upstairs now. This is the 4th floor where genealogy was, and genealogy no longer is. This is now the home of the hive for the teenagers. I'm hoping you'll be impressed with what you're going to see here. It's the whole floor. So Nicole and Rachel, who manage that 4th floor for us in a great way, have this to greet the teens when they're allowed back in here. And then this is what we've created. We've got a few more things to do. You'll see a cord hanging from the ceiling in the back there. That's going to be for a projector. Projector is going to be up on the ceiling, and it'll project to a wall that's entirely white, not yellow like the rest of the place. So they want to shoot movies, and of course have a bunch of gaming going on there. But this is more the play side of the floor, as they're putting it. There is an old foosball game that we dug out of the air depot from storage that the city had, and we thought we'd get that shined up for the kids to use, among other things. You'll see there's 8 computers back in the corner. That'll be a computer row for the kids to use. Another little shot of the section. Then here's the other side. This is the study side. This was all carpeted. It was all full of books, all genealogy books. And so we took that all apart and exposed the concrete. We took the carpeting out because teens and carpeting do not mix well. So we took the carpeting out and got the concrete all shined up, had a contractor in here for 10 days. And the ladies wanted it green because that's grass to go along with the trees that have been boxed in. The girders that hold up the roof here are the trees. And if you look closely, you'll see the ceiling, which has clouds. There's a better shot of it. So they even put some clouds in there. I told them to get some birds up there too. And I'm not an artist, but I could draw a few birds like I did when I was a kid. And of course, the floor is green. They also created this wall because the kids love to dance. They'll set up their phones and get some apps going, and the kids will dance away. By the way, again, this is up on the 4th floor. What's on our 3rd floor? Our 3rd floor is locked away. It is not for the public. That's half the floor is for the Friends group. That's where they organize all the books that we weed and books that get donated to the library that we can't use. Those are all the storage area for our Friends group. The other half of that floor, the 3rd floor, is our vault. That's where a lot of good old historic items are kept. And they are literally locked in a vault. Bobby Junkins, Judge Junkins, was here yesterday, and he was looking for an old Roosevelt FDR portrait of his that he had donated to the library. He wants to use it, even though the library now owns it. He was asking me if he could have it on loan for his office, which is going to be over at the old Print Up Hotel. Bobby's going to have an office there. So he was here, and we found that Roosevelt picture. But the 3rd floor, because it's storage, becomes a sound barrier down to the rest of the library, so the kids can dance and hoot and holler as much as they want. Now, when they start to do that, they also might get out of hand. So on the 2nd floor where they were, I had only one camera that would record their activities. I've got 5 cameras up here on this floor, so I can now watch them. We can watch them very well if in case something ever happens. And we hope it doesn't, but in case it does, we've got some great camera angles to watch. Here's the kids department. I don't want to leave out Jill and the kids department. She's been doing a great job. This department is all completely shined up, just like the rest of the library. Every item's been touched. Every item's been cataloged, weeded, and it looks great. And you'll see our logo there in the distance. Since day one, since March 17th, we did not stop checking out books. Many libraries did. All the libraries in Jefferson County, for instance, shut their doors, and they even shut their phones down. They reopened their phone systems so people could call in and say, hey, can you look up a book for me, or can you answer this question for me? They started doing that the last week in May, and then they started doing what we call curbside service on June 1st. That's the Jefferson County libraries. We've been doing curbside service since March 17. We did not stop. People could go on our website. They could reserve a book. We would put it at our entrance here in plastic bags, thanks to Johnson's. We put their name on it. They would come, they'd call us. The folks at the front desk would come out. They'd open the door, step away. People could come in, grab their books, and off they go. It's a great system. It's been working well, and we're going to continue that as we move forward. So reserves at the front desk, or at the front door, I should say. Also, I want to mention about our returns. These are right at our front entrance, one for books coming back, the other for AV movies coming back in, and books on discs. So we have requested the community, when they bring books back, they've read them, it's time to return. They bring the books back and they put them in these slots. We do not want them in to the main library taken in just yet. We want to clean these properly according to American Library Association regulations. So we've been cleaning every item since day one. Every item goes through a process, and we also isolate that item for 7 days to make sure that it's nice and clean and can't harm anybody. Here's some of the cleaning, where some of the cleaning does, books that came in yesterday. And then, as you can see, they're placed on tables. We're just waiting for the 7 days to come up, and then we put these back on the shelves, or we take these back to the branches. We go and collect the books every other day in bags and bring them over from so we can get them cleaned and isolated the right way. The ladies are going to kill me if they knew I had done this. I got on their websites yesterday, and we have Facebook pages. We have 5 different Facebook pages. One for the main library, one for the children's department, one for the teen department, one for the Alabama City Genealogy Library, and one for the East Gadsden branch. This is Jill on top, the kids librarian, and she was doing a story time. And I'm not a very good photographer, and this is really a video, but I took some shots of her as she was doing, as you can guess, itsy bitsy spider she was doing yesterday with the kids. On the bottom, that's Nicole and Rachel, and they were using what we call the Charlie cart. That's something that the teen department applied for, a federal grant. They got it, and they are doing healthy cooking, and they are putting that on the teen website, and the kids have been following along on how to make some good healthy recipes and all that. And this was in fact a nice clean barbecue pork salad that they were working on, but done and being cooked in a healthy way. So that's Nicole and Rachel there. Also proud to say we are part of the city's summer lunch program. This is Nicole. She's been coordinating. Again, Nicole handles our teen department, but she's also responsible for handing out lunches on Mondays and Wednesdays. We get deliveries from the school system, comes in early in the morning, and it's really, last year it was every day. Kids came into the library, and also over to our East Gadsden branch. Now the schools are packing up the lunches, bag lunches, for 2 days. So for Monday and Tuesday, that's handed out on Mondays, and on Wednesday, the lunches are handed out with Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, supposed lunches along with snacks. So good healthy meals that we help out the school system here in the summer lunch program. I put this on, if anybody can guess, and I'm sure somebody can, that is the Dwight Cotton Mill over Canterbury Station Shopping Center was. That's a picture of the Dwight Cotton Mill. The reason I put it on here, one of the ongoing duties of the library, and we've made it a part of our mission as we inspire and create and move this library forward. One of the big things that I really want to have the community know is that we are big time into preservation. If somebody has some historic photographs, we'd love to get copies of those. We catalog those and then get those shared so that all the libraries in town, including the private libraries, the private genealogy libraries, the Nichols Library, as well as the Elliott Center, can take advantage. We want to all catalog our collections together. Gadsden Museum of Art on Broad Street is the Gadsden Museum of Art and History. So we want to get Ray all involved in this too. But I put this out here. We are scanning 24 hours a day, just about, our old collections and any collections that come through. I just had in my hand here, I'll show you, I just got a bunch of pictures. Somebody will recognize this guy. That's Mayor Means. And somebody just dropped off. They had collected these. There's about 20 photographs here, and we'll be scanning those and putting those into our collection. So it's just not library stuff. If the community has pictures, books, stories, scrapbooks, that sort of thing, if they need a repository, we'll be glad to take that and handle it and preserve it the right way. All right, so with all that said, we were all ready to open this library this past Monday, June 15. However, the previous Thursday, I heard that Gadsden Regional reported its highest one-day positive COVID caseload. They had 18 positive cases that one day. And looking at the Alabama Public Health dashboard, I saw cases in Etowah County on the rise. I had heard from Deborah Gaither with EMA that she was concerned cases in Etowah County were on the rise. And here we were all set to open the following Monday on the 15th. And on that Friday morning, the Friday before, after hearing all this, I said to myself and to the staff, I think we should not open. Not quite yet. Let's just wait and see. Contacted the mayor's office, talked to Mayor Guyton. He was all in favor of us not reopening when I got his approval. The announcements went out. I'm glad to say about 99% of the comments we received through Facebook and all were good, positive comments. Thanks for keeping the community safe. Thanks for keeping us and our staff safe, that kind of thing. So, but now we are targeting right now, although we'll wait and see, and I guess we can make a last minute call, but right now we're planning to open all 3 locations on June 29th. You'll be able to see that on our different Facebook pages that we have truly opened. And when we do, we have 180,000 items for the community here to take advantage of. We've also got notary service. That includes wedding certificates. With the change in law and all, we handle wedding certificates. That means folks can come in, and we've done a number of them here. They can come in here, not get married. All right. Well, I guess they could bring a pastor if they wanted to, but we have the official forms from the state that they can fill out, get notarized here, that they then take to the probate office and officially get that filed for the state of Alabama. Our copier services, we moved our copier. That'll be in our entryway for folks to come in and make copies and go. Public computers we're going to have available. I'll be restarting computer classes in August. I do those myself. Lots of volunteer opportunities. If you know somebody, you have a friend, family member that's looking for something to do, whether they're a senior citizen or otherwise. I also have a lot of kids that are looking to put something on the resume when they're in high school and all that. Give me a call. So we keep some of the kids employed too. And then we always have a ton of programs for kids, teens, and adults. Jill in the kids department, Nicole and Rachel in the teen department have been doing virtual programming since day one when we closed in March. And so that's been very entertaining and well received by by parents and grandparents of little kids and teenagers. Census, I mentioned to Will when we were just getting this thing started earlier. I'm big on the census. We got to get everybody counted in Gadsden and in Etowah County. It means federal dollars coming into us. And we have some low responding areas right now, and the lowest responding areas are coming from the low and moderate income communities that really could use the services the most. And they don't realize how important it is for all of them to get counted. So Will, I think that is a good subject that we could bring up on another community conversation. How about that? Lastly, I'll mention, and Will, this is another one we could do. I talked to Heather at the chamber there about a service called Reference USA. We have just purchased this. It's available on our website, Gadsden Public Library website. That's gadsdenlibrary.org. You go there, you'll find Reference USA. What's that all about? It's a massive collection of public information databases. To give you one example on how it could be used, let's say I'm just a single guy and I think my expertise is cleaning houses. I'd like to clean some houses. In fact, I'd like to clean some bigger houses. So any house valued at 200,000 and up within a mile radius of the library, could you give me those addresses? And yes, this can. So it can be as fine as that, or and I'm sure whatever business you're involved in, that this database, this collection of databases can certainly help you. And so we need to do a chamber session on this, Will. This would be a good one to do. So I'll mention that there's the sign that we're going to have at the door when we open on June 29th. You'll see we're going to have some restrictions in place. We're not going to open the library fully quite yet. We're going to open back fully when we have the schools open. And right now I've heard Tony Reddick with the Gadsden City School System say that unless something happens, he's going to try to open the schools and have the kids in the classroom beginning on August 11th. That's a Tuesday. So on August 10th, on a Monday, that's when we're going to open up the library and the 2 branches fully. Right now, when folks come into the library on June 29th or until we open back fully in August, we're only going to have the front section of the library open, the front desk section. Showed you that where the screens are, where the bike is. That's the only area of the library we're going to allow folks in right away. The stacks are not going to be available. The fourth floor will not be available to the kids, and the children's department's not going to be available until school starts in August. We're going to encourage people to wear masks and gloves. The staff has been doing that since day one. While we can't mandate it, frankly, I wish we could, but we can't. According to the state attorney general, we'll recommend masks and gloves. We can, however, take temperatures. I just learned that. And so when folks come in, yep, you come in here, I'll be taking your temperature. And that doesn't violate anybody. We want to keep some potentially sick folks out of there, out of the library. Don't want our staff infected, don't want others infected either. And we're going to continue to ask everybody to bring their materials, their books and movies and all their items back through the book drop so we can get them cleaned, isolated, and you saw that process. We've also removed, if you'd look closely at some of the other pictures I showed you, the bikes, the bicycle, for instance, in the background, you did not see any chairs. All the chairs have been removed from the front of the library. That's temporary only, of course. We do not want to encourage loitering and have folks in here when we have the pandemic to deal with, okay? And with that, that's your Gadsden Public Library. And Will, thanks for the invitation today.
Yeah, absolutely, great. That was fantastic in what you guys have done since getting the screen closed out. What you guys have done in the time that you've had, with doors closed, that looks fantastic. I mean, that's really cool.
Thank you.
That's
I think there might be some folks out there that say, well, the library staff, what they've been doing in there. I tell you that with what I was asking the staff to do, they're going to be happy to have the doors open. All right. Everybody's sick of cleaning at home, and they are sick of cleaning this place, but it is shined up. It looks great. And we're all dressed up with nowhere to go right now until June 29th.
Well, you and your staff have done a fantastic job there. I'm sure there's a lot of folks seeing that they're going to really enjoy the changes and the updates you guys have done over there. It looks great. Yeah. Emily Carter just had a comment. Do we want to talk about Veau Ad today or a different conversation? I mean, while we're here, you can talk about Veau Ads. I know you're involved with that, and we can cover that as a standalone topic later on for those interested.
Well, let me bring up Veau Ad, okay? Some may not know that. I for instance, till about, I guess it was 2012, 2013, I had no clue what Veau Ad meant. But the way I got involved with the Veau Ad group, and Veau Ad stands for Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. Back then, I saw an advertisement, I think it was in the newspaper, in the Gadsden Times. There was an advertisement for CERT training, CERT. It stands for Community Emergency Response Team training with our emergency management folks. So I thought, well, I'll put my hand up and go and see what it's all about. I took the series of classes on life saving, some how to fight a fire with a fire extinguisher, and I am not a handy guy whatsoever. With my car, I open the hood and it's an engine. That's about all I can do with a car. But to tell you how inept I was, I did not know that a fire extinguisher had a little pin. And in order for it to work, you got to pull the damn pin, okay? And I learned that in CERT training, and I had to put out a little fire using a fire extinguisher. So if I ever have a fire at home, God forbid, and I've got 3 fire extinguishers at home, I know how to use the darn thing. So that's what CERT training did, but it also exposed me to the Veau Ad group, and that's where I first heard about that. And it's Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. What organizations? Well, Red Cross, Salvation Army, Public Health, Job Corps, Emily, Job Corps is involved. So many organizations, also individuals. Right now I manage the list. We have 176 individuals representing many organizations. Many churches, for instance, are on the Veau Ad list. So what does Veau Ad do? We get involved to help back up first responders. Our most recent activity was on Easter Sunday. There was a series of tornadoes that came through the Reese City and Sardis, Boaz communities up there. And immediately the next morning after those tornadoes struck, I got the call from EMA that Veau Ad needed to go into action, and I put the word out to our members, and we started right across from Reese City Hall. We set up a volunteer reception center. What's that mean? Well, when tornadoes come through, a lot of folks hear about it and they want to come and help. But if you're a guy and you got a chainsaw and you got your t-shirt and your shorts on and you show up wanting to help on somebody's property, you might get shot, because nobody wants their property. You know, they get real touchy about having folks after a tornado, and half their belongings are strewn all over the ground. So instead, first responders will cordon off the area and they allow folks in. And if they want to volunteer, they are sent to the reception center. Well, we get them registered. The Veau Ad group gets them registered. We get armbands on them, and then we organize them into teams so they can go out into the affected areas and do it the right way. So there's one example of what Veau Ad does. We also help out when it gets really, really, really cold. And fortunately, this past year, we didn't get really cold, where the temperatures dip down into the low teens, or low 20s and teens, and even lower. When it's real cold, and the homeless folks who are trying to fend for themselves need to get out to stay protected, Veau Ad will help in conjunction with the city to set up the Elliott Center as a warming shelter. And this year we did not do it. Last year, 2019, we did that for 3 nights in a row, twice in the in January and February of 2019. We did that and helped out. Got those folks out of the cold, and we fed them for 3 days, and then it got warmer, and we were. But that's another example of what Veau Ad does. So great organizations. If you want to get your organization on there yourself, just give a holler here to the library, ask for a library guy, and we'll get you started with that.
That's fantastic. Right? Yeah, I've been typing on my phone as we've been going along some potential topics for upcoming sessions and other things like that for us. But yeah, I'll make sure I remember that one too to discuss.
One we could do. By the way, I'll just mention this. And I saw it was mentioned yesterday, although, Will, I was with you practicing, because I'm not great with technology like this, so this is kind of new to me. But yesterday you and I were practicing this, and while we were doing that, I missed the EMA weekly call. And on that call, I heard that Deborah has some extra PPE supplies, masks, gloves, and all that, and she's going to have make that available. It sounded like at Antioch Baptist Church coming up. There's going to be, for the community, if someone needs masks, gloves, and other PPE, that'll be made available to the community. So more in the Gadsden Times, and watch for that on social media. But I'm proud to say, with Veau Ad, on one of the state Veau Ad calls, and there are chapters all around the state and all around the country, Veau Ad chapters, I heard that the state chapter had extra masks available, and they were making those available to the local chapters. I put my hand up for 3,000 masks, and last Friday night, my wife and I went down to Birmingham and met the state guy, and we got the 3,000 masks and brought those back to Gadsden. I delivered, they were 500 in box, and I delivered 5 of those boxes to EMA, and I'm sure that's what they'll be using at Antioch Baptist Church, among others. I did keep 1 box here for the library. I've handed out a bunch of those to the Manna folks, and to some other nonprofits here in the area. But I've got masks here at the library too. So, and those are free, and they're good masks. They're not cheap ones either. They're good ones.
Yeah, that's great. Well, do we have any questions before we wrap up? We're coming up on time. Any questions? You don't want to unmute themselves or put a question in the chat. I don't see any questions. I'll ask a question because I'm curious. You know, Craig, you mentioned with people dropping the books off and you're having to sanitize the books. How exactly do you sanitize a book? I mean, because I'm curious.
So,
how does that work?
Yep. So, Will, it's a really, really thorough process. When a book comes in, it's dropped off in our book drop there, or at the branch, it drops into a book drop into a big garbage bag. And so if I make the drive or one of the other staff members makes a drive over to the branch, all we have to do is pick up that garbage bag. We're not even touching the book ourselves. Bring that back to the main library, or the books that come through our book drops here, they're taken into our Lena Martin room, which is right next to our book drop, our big conference room. That's where Amy and Paulette and the front desk staff, they handle those literally with gloves. We all wear gloves here, and they will take those out, and there is special cleaning solutions that the book is wiped down. We also have UVE wands. I'll show you one right here. So we have a UVE wand in each of the departments, 2 up front. And so each book is then given a UVE light bath along with it. Now, once the book is also wiped down one last time, it's a little damp on the outside, not on the end, but on the outside. And so it's put up on end. It's stood up on end so it can dry for an hour. And then it's laid on its side when it's dry and grouped like you saw on the tables. And it's grouped by day so that 7 days later, we can now take those books to the shelf safely or back to the branches.
Wow. That's a lot of work that you guys are having to do to keep the books sanitized and clean. But I know people appreciate you that you're doing that, and you're ensuring their safety, that they're checking out the books and still using that service. So that's, wow, that's a lot.
That's the whole point of it, keeping everyone safe. And it's a brand new procedure here. I did not learn this in library school eons ago, and I guarantee folks in library school last year didn't know about this, but they're learning about it now. And will going forward, I guess. That's a new part of the world we live in now.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat, so we'll go ahead and stop the recording here in just a second. But thank you all for attending this morning, and Craig, thank you especially for sharing all this information with us and showing us around the library and all the updates and work that you guys have been doing over there since you've had to shut the doors. As I said, recording of this we found later today. I'll have to upload it here on our page later on today. But Craig, thank you so much as always. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording for us.